Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Got another great show lined up for you this week. Got our buddies, usual buddies joining us. James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback. We'll be talking some Hawkeye football, Big Ten championship game, of course. And then Jeff Horner following that up, talking Hawkeye basketball, the undefeated Iowa Hawkeye men's team. And then we'll close out the show as we usually do with our buddy from HawkeyeInsider.com's David Eickholt. That being said, you can see my friends Craig and Stacy Schroeder. The gang is back together. Look out, guys. Stacy, how was Florida?
It was
not enough time. We don't want to hear it.
No.
Anyway, so again, Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook or fightwithflash.org. You guys have some great stuff upcoming we're going to cover on our web exclusive video online. Gifting with a purpose this holiday season. Craig, Stacy, are we ready to go?
We are.
We are ready.
So am I, so let's get to it. Back with more Hawkeye in just a few moments. Welcome to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, please have my buddy James Vandenberg, the former Hawkeye quarterback, now with RBC Wealth Management in Cedar Rapids. James, first of all, as always, thanks for joining us. But secondly, and most importantly, Hawks in the Big Ten championship game, as you're smiling with me. Former Hawkeye quarterback, how did that happen? Look at, they come back to beat Nebraska when all looked lost. Next day, everybody's saying, Wisconsin will win at Minnesota. I never thought I'd say thank you to P.J. Fleck, but thank you, P.J. Fleck. And James, here we are. So your thoughts, please.
Yeah, no, I don't know if all looked lost against Nebraska. I never felt like, I don't know, I felt like we were probably in that game the whole time. The Wisconsin, Minnesota, I probably wouldn't have bet on that. But certainly a nice break. I didn't get to watch any of that game, but we're 10-2. We were going to be 10-2, whether Wisconsin won or lost. Like, we're a good football team. And so it was almost, we were going to get slighted if we didn't end up in the Big Ten championship. And, karma was on our side. Like, we're getting to go and we're the most deserving team on the Western side.
Well, to your point about all looked lost, until that block punt, James, I'll be blunt with you. And I'm not a ledge type of person on the ledge, but you know me, I'm usually very optimistic. Glass is always half full. But it did look tough. I mean, Spencer Petras comes in at halftime, and of course, I saw all the social media jokes. Boy, Iowa must be in trouble if they're benching Alex Padilla for Spencer Petras, as you're smiling. And again, you and I both know the most popular guy in town is always the backup quarterback. So Spencer Petras goes from the scrap heap to now being the savior. But really, until that block punt and then a great catch and touchdown, Hawks were having a difficult time moving it, doing anything, or capitalizing. So it was the Caleb Shudeck show, which was fine. And then you get a safety, and lo and behold, then Spencer does get his 2-yard touchdown run a la Tom Brady, quarterback sneak. But James, it did look pretty tenuous there for a while. I like your confidence, but I was a little rattled.
Yeah, I guess it never looked like Nebraska was actually going to ever score enough to make it a runaway, though. That's what I guess I think.
I agree. Agreed.
I'm glad they didn't have Adrian Martinez. I think their young quarterback played solid, but it never felt like they were going to score 4 touchdowns either. So it's just it's a classic Hawkeye victory. It's all 3 phases, and some are going to produce more than others. And, people might not like it. It might not be exciting, but I don't know. Once again, I just go back to, with a team coming off a COVID year, everything else, if you could have just said 10-2, who would have signed up for it? And I think most people would have laughed. Yeah, sure, I'll take it. But it's all those little things that add up. And that's what people don't tend to get with our program. I guess I look at 10-2 and think, we're a pretty solid football team. And yeah, I guess maybe I was glass half full, or maybe I'm just biased against Nebraska being down 1-2, but I never felt like it was getting away from us on Friday.
Right, not away from us, but definitely getting down to the razor's edge. And I'll say a couple of points you made very fine there. We were talking to James Morris and you a couple of weeks ago. And again, thanks everybody for coming back, as we ran our recorded interviews we did a couple of weeks ago. We did basketball all last Friday's show for the Thanksgiving break, all last week's show with Fran McCaffrey and Patrick McCaffrey. And upcoming, we'll have Margaret McCaffrey and Connor McCaffrey. So please stay tuned for that over the holiday Christmas break. But and some best of shows as well. So James, I really want to get to this now with you. When you take a look at what you said earlier, and James Morris, the former Hawkeye linebacker, your teammate, said, 10-2, we'll take it. But here's the interesting thing, James, you hear now on social media, and I'm so glad you said what you said many times about the players under the Kirk Ferentz regime. not paying attention to social media, but they're young guys and they got social media. This is the worst 10-2 team of all time. Can't believe they're this, and you're smiling because you've seen all this garbage too. The fact remains they're 10-2. I don't care how they got there. They play good defense, like you said. They run the ball, special teams, turnover, lead the nation in some of those categories, as you're nodding with me. But now they're facing a somewhat mirrored team. Number 2 ranked Michigan, as you kind of, here we go. Harbaugh now has his guys doing relatively the Kirk Ferentz impression. Good defense, run the ball, special teams, turnovers. Give me your takeaway. Let's put you back in QB1's helmet. I guess it's Spencer Petras, and it is this week. But if you're Spencer Petras or even Alex Padilla, how are you leading your troops, Mr. Former Quarterback at Iowa?
Well, I mean, I think you're leading them exactly the same way. It's really no different. As boring as that is, this is going to be a new scheme. Yeah, I'd say you're summing it up pretty good, though, in the fact that this is going to be not a mirror image of us, but a similar style team to us. They play a little bit more man coverage than we do, but I mean, they want to be physical. They want to have the line of scrimmage controlled. There's probably not a whole lot of gimmicks going to happen in this game on either side. And yeah, I mean, I think it's you can make an argument that we would have rather played Ohio State, and you can make the argument that we'd rather play Michigan. I don't know what it is. I know we're excited to be there, and I don't know. I like us in a tough, physical, defensive, run the ball type of game. We don't want it to be a track meet, no matter what.
Right.
So, I hopefully this doesn't turn into that kind of game.
So I won't hold your feet to the fire for an exact score because I don't want to give an exact score. But let's you and I agree, Hawks win in a close one, and I'll take it however it is. But the other thing I really wanted to hone in with you as next couple minutes here before we wrap up, I really would like you to talk to us then about the emotions. And again, you went through some of this during your playing days at Iowa. Quarterback, not quarterback, you're backing up. Ricky Stanzi injured, now he's coming back. You're going to a bowl, yeah, he's coming back, he's not coming back. All those things that you went through. Wow, this is really kind of happening with Alex Padilla and Spencer Petras. So let's say, give me your take, first your Spencer Petras, and then give me your take, Alex Padilla, because I know you know both those situations. So please talk to us from both guys' helmets, please.
Well, one thing that it's going to be harder for me to speak on than from when I played is the transfer portal now is so free.
Right.
I mean, we were joking about coaches. It's a whole new dynamic on the ability to transfer and immediately play. And how that factors in, I won't know exactly until you see some stuff. I heard today Deuce Hogan is transferring. I don't know if there's any truth to that. You could probably tell me that or not. But I that dynamic.
Yes, by the way, and we'll move on. We'll hit that more later, but yes, by the way.
Yeah, well, that changes the dynamic. I mean, I think we've had this quarterback battle and objective statistics versus subjective and blah, blah, blah. You know, I think the coaching staff knows who gives us the best chance to win. And if it's going to be Petras this week, then I agree with the coaching staff that it's Petras who gives us the best chance to win. And once again, I mean, it might be one of those styles that isn't maybe fans don't love, but what is he, 13-4 now? Or I mean, he's won a lot of games for us. And I say that as no discredit to Padilla, who's done a great job stepping in. I don't know how this all plays out, but I know the fact that they can transfer easier will factor in. And, you know, ultimately we want to keep both these guys because you never know when you need a backup. But
right.
I think that's going to be hard because they both can play. And with the rules now, it's different.
Well, let's do this as we close out then. You referenced with coaching, and you and I talked off the air about this. Brian Kelly going to LSU from Notre Dame, and then you've got, of course, Lincoln Riley before that is leaving Oklahoma and going to USC. And everybody went on social media, and you know this in reality, not social media. Kirk Ferentz and Hayden Fry. Hayden Fry first, Kirk Ferentz next. That same coaching tree since 1979 now to 2021 going into 2022. Kirk finishing year 23. You know what it's like to play in that system. That's got to make recruits feel pretty darn good that you're coming into a stable program.
And it's so underestimated by fans. So underestimated. The grass is always greener. It's not. And if all these programs don't show you that, I don't know what will. But yeah, we're extremely fortunate to have the stability we've had. Coach Ferentz is as good as it gets. And that's just the facts. And people cannot maybe like his style or think it could be. The facts are the facts. And I'm glad he's been there for as long as he has. I hope he stays for a long time more. But that is a big factor to how our program gains momentum slowly. We're not a flash in the pan. And so he's been building, our program has been building for these 20-something years. And I mean, we've been playing some really good football the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, all the way through his tenure. But it really seems like we're picking up steam here these last 5 or 6 years. And that's just that compound interest coming back to gain on itself year after year of doing things the right way. And I don't think anybody gives our staff, Coach Ferentz, our players enough credit for that. But I attribute a lot of our success and the ability that we're able to build on that stability, on that just staying on the grindstone type mentality. And I'm a Coach Ferentz fan.
As well you should be, and as am I, and a lot of us, so most of us. I can't improve upon what you just said. So James, let's look forward to talking next week. Hopefully after a Hawkeye Big Ten championship victory over Michigan, we'll for sure know where they're going bowling on Sunday. So we'll talk about that next week with you. And hopefully James Morris said he'll be able to join you and me again. So we'll look forward to catching up with you next week. Thank you, my friend.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave.
You bet. For James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback and now with RBC Wealth Management. James will talk to us next week. We'll be back with more Hawkeye talk, Hawkeye basketball with former Hawkeye basketball playing great Jeff Horner. Back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, in a few moments.
In farming, everybody knows relationships drive the industry. And with Merschman Seeds, you've got a friend in the field. Hi, this is Joe Merschman. We're the friend that delivers with extraordinary speed. We're the friend that shares knowledge and innovation. We're the friend that cares about your yields and profits. And we just happen to have the most advanced seed technology in the industry. When you choose the best seed, you also get the best people. Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, my buddy Jeff Horner. Jeff, former Iowa Hawkeye basketball, playing great going into year four right now as Truman State University men's head basketball coach. Jeff, as always, thanks for joining us. And secondly, it was great seeing you on Saturday after Thanksgiving. Wasn't the outcome you hoped for, but before we get to the Iowa Hawkeyes, man, you had a heck of a week. Your national ranking went up as high as number 2. Then you faced number 1, Northwest Missouri State on the road, lost a heartbreaker, and then had a tough game on Saturday at Upper Iowa against a guy you know well. Viewers, in case you didn't know, Jeff, former Mr. Iowa basketball in 2002 out of high school. The following year, Brooks McCowan, 03, was Mr. Iowa basketball. And Jeff and Brooks had a nice little coaching battle, but Jeff, kind of a coming home for you at Upper Iowa. Your dad is in the Upper Iowa Athletic Hall of Fame as an athlete. Pretty cool stuff, but you got to flush those things aside and move on because you got 2 huge games upcoming this week at home. Finally at home for you in Kirksville against UMSL, University of Missouri St. Louis, and Maryville University. So what's past is past, moving forward, right?
Yep. Yeah. We, we had a rough week last week with Thanksgiving and everything. And, went to Northwest. I thought we gave a pretty good effort. Ended up losing by 10, had to foul at the end, give us some free throws towards the end there too. But, a very good basketball team. And then, guys are away from their families on Thanksgiving, that type of thing. I have all the guys over at my house and we had a great meal, but when it's all said and done, we went back on Saturday and went to Upper Iowa and our guys just looked tired. We've had 6 games on the road. We've been gone quite a bit, not trying to make excuses, but it's just one of those things where I thought Upper Iowa, just shot the crap out of the ball. And it was one of those things where it seemed like no matter what we could do, what we did, the outcome wasn't gonna go our way, but always playing against Brooks is always fun. We become really good friends. And, the Upper Iowa's got a great team, so a lot of credit to them.
Yeah, and you guys, like you said, you just came out flat, and that's one of those you got to move on and try as you might. But as I said, you got a lot ahead of you, so looking forward to that. And you kind of went through that last year. You lost a handful of games, or less than a handful of games going into nationals, Elite Eight appearance for you. So looking forward to big things again this year from you. But let's talk about those Iowa Hawkeyes. Viewers, in case you didn't know, we record this show every Tuesday afternoon. So this is the night after the big University of Virginia victory. I see you kind of smiling there with me, Jeff. What a huge win for the undefeated Hawkeyes, going on the road for that Big Ten ACC Challenge. And then by the time we record again next Tuesday, you and I will have seen Iowa play at Purdue on Friday night when this show comes out. And then the next Monday, they will play Illinois at Carver Hawkeye. And hey, there might be an Iowa State game we may have to talk about briefly the following Thursday. So let's talk about last night's big victory over Virginia and where the Hawks are right now. How do you see things, Jeff?
Well, I thought they played really well last night. Obviously, they jumped out to a big lead, and obviously Virginia made a big run kind of there at the end of the half to kind of get some momentum. Came back in the second half and played pretty well. And then obviously a lot of Hawkeye fans were probably a little bit nervous with Keegan Murray spraining his ankle, that type of thing. But I thought, when he went out, other guys stepped up, and then obviously, J-Bo made a huge three for them down in the stretch, and then Toussaint makes the game winner, and Patrick McCaffrey comes up with the block shot. So not many teams go into Virginia and win, and I think that's definitely a confidence builder. And I think Fran's scheduling paid off, where those guys got to play a few games together, get to see what it's really like after losing so much from the year before. And they go in, with their first big test, especially on the road, and come away with a win. So I think that's a huge momentum builder for them. And obviously going into these next 3 games is going to be huge for them as well.
Yeah, Purdue highly top 5 ranked. And, the interesting thing, Jeff, you and I talked on my radio show yesterday, and it was interesting. We both talked about Tony Bennett and defense at Virginia, but I think we're seeing this Hawkeye team, how they can get it off the glass and go. And when I talked to Fran on last week's show, Fran McCaffrey, and then Patrick McCaffrey said the same thing. And we'll be airing interviews with Margaret McCaffrey and Connor McCaffrey in upcoming weeks here. But it was interesting. All 4 were like, yeah, we're excited. The Hawks are going to get the ball off the glass and run it. And, Jeff, I think we're seeing how wide open that court's going to be with these guys. My goodness, Fran plays – it's not 8 or 9. It's 10 or 11. And, I mean, guys are getting minutes. Guys are getting shots. It's a fun team to watch, if for nothing else, Jeff.
Yeah, I think you could definitely see him actually bring down the rotation a little bit last night. Peyton Sanford didn't play probably, as much as he had been playing. 2 of the big kids didn't get in either. So I think he, moved it down just a little bit, obviously, for that game. But I think it's one of those things where different guys have to be ready on different nights. And, it was interesting to kind of see the lineup he went with Bohannon, and then Chris Murray, Keegan Murray, Phillip, Rubracha, and then Patrick McCaffrey too. And so you can, even though they don't necessarily probably have a true center, they can still go big and still compete with those teams. So it's going to be fun to watch how he mixes and matches those. And I think it's going to, different guys probably throughout the year are going to have to step up at different times.
Yeah, I think we saw something we won't see often. You kind of referenced this a couple of weeks ago. Peyton Sanford missed a wide open 3, but that's about the only shot he got because, as you mentioned, his rotation and minutes may go down, not because he missed that shot, but I'll tell you what, it was fun watching. So when you see that going into a big road test, you know what it's like playing at Purdue and West Lafayette and how tough that is. I know a lot of years removed from when you did that, but still not an easy place to play at Mackey Arena, is it?
No, not at all. I think we went there. I think we won twice. If I'm not mistaken, it feels like it's a century ago. But we got some pretty good wins when I was there. I remember that because I remember one game I got a concussion. So it was one of those things where. But playing there in Mackey Arena is something that you just never forget. And going in there, I do think it's a shooter's gym too as well. And so hopefully. Guys come in there just ready to play, ready to compete, and it'll be another good test.
Jeff, great stuff from you as always, and good luck to you in your big 2 games next week, and this upcoming weekend. We'll look forward to talking to you about that next week. Hawkeyes again, Kofi Coburn and head coach Brad Underwood will be coming into Carver Hawkeye on Monday. We'll talk about that game next week as well, and we'll do a little preview of that Iowa State game. Jeff, both teams may be coming in undefeated, which would be highly unusual, even if the Hawks lose 1 or 2 here. Iowa State undefeated and 19th ranked today. Couple of big wins. Nobody thought anything out of them. So TJ Otzelberger doing a good job, his first-year coach in there. So I look forward to catching up with all that with you next week. Thanks so much, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. For Jeff Horner, I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back to close out the show with Hawkeye insider David Eickholt. Back with more Hawkeye with me in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology or a seed company that's writing the book on it? Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Mershman Seeds has been treating soybeans for decades, long before it was commonplace. We're the leader in technology, introducing Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, with an added fungicide to help produce a faster, more even emergence every single time. Who can you trust with your yields? Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see David Eickholt joining me, HawkeyeInsider.com's very own. So much to get to with you, David, but before I do that, we have so much to get to with Iowa Hawkeye Athletics. What a week it's going to be upcoming. Of course, the Big Ten Championship football game against Michigan, the Iowa women play against Duke for the Big Ten ACC Women's Challenge, the Hawkeye men big victory as we record this on Tuesday afternoon, last night's big victory over Virginia, upcoming games against Purdue, Illinois, and so much going on, and the number one Hawkeye wrestling team against Iowa State on Sunday. So, gee, Dave, all that aside, thanks for joining us as always. How you doing, man?
Hey, everything's good, Dave. I got a coffee IV directly in my veins for the next week.
You're gonna need it.
So I'll be all right.
This is what we live for, though, right?
Exactly.
All right, David. Let's just hop right to it. Big Ten Conference Championship game coming in Michigan. You had press today with Kirk Ferentz and the players. I'm out of the way. Go.
I do think that Iowa's really loving this underdog mentality. I mean, we talked to Spencer Petras today, who is going to be the starting quarterback on Saturday, and he basically said, well, my freshman year, we were the underdogs against Mississippi State because they had 3 first-round draft picks on defense. USC, he saw the graphic pregame when all the analysts were picking USC, and he said this is no different going into this type of big-time game. Iowa wants to be the underdog, and if you look typically under Kirk Ferentz, that's when the team thrives. And I'll go back to 2016 against Michigan. Iowa was a 21.5-point underdog in that game. Of course, Keith Duncan's game-winning field goal on that. And then Tyler Goodson just came out and he flat out said, hey, I think I'm the number one running back in the country. I think we're the number one team in the country. That's my opinion. If people have anything they want to say differently, show us on Saturday.
Yeah, we're not going down this rabbit hole yet, but I will say James Vandenberg mentioned this in an earlier segment today. Deuce Hogan is going to be transferring.
Yep.
You broke that news. But I will say this, the vibe of the team. That being said, nothing against or Deuce and how that worked out. But you mentioned your great takeaway from media today. You said, wow, your main thing, you looked at me and go, wow, Dave, this team is so close.
It is. I mean, Kirk got emotional multiple times throughout the day. Jack Kerner, who's played a lot of football in Iowa, said the camaraderie of this team is just different. It's closer than any other year. And I think when you have one of your senior leaders saying that, I do think that's a big deal. And quickly regarding Deuce Hogan, I'll say this, true freshman quarterback Joey Labus, I've heard, has really been ascending on the scout team, has really, taken that big step forward. So whether or not he might be able to be a guy that could be a backup quarterback next year, depending on what Alex Padilla and Spencer Petras, now that sort of battle shakes out. And it's nothing against Iowa's culture or the individual, Dave. It's just quarterbacking in college football.
Well stated, and James Vandenberg said that in the earlier segment, and coaching stability with all the movement going on with Brian Kelly going to LSU and Lincoln Riley going to USC from Oklahoma and Kelly from Notre Dame.
Yep.
But you mentioned that with quarterbacking. Spencer Petras is the starter going into the Big Ten Championship game. We'll look forward to that next week. So now, so close to time here, running out of time, but Hawkeye men, what can we say, David? They go to Purdue on Friday after a big victory last night against Virginia. Then Monday, by the time we record again next Tuesday, they'll play Illinois. It's laid out for them.
It is, and I think, just winning at Virginia is always a big deal. I mean, Iowa did lead by as many as 21 points, but I think everybody knew Tony Bennett's team was not going to fold over and die, but they did end up taking the lead. Joe Toussaint, who was told this is his team going into the year, from Jordan Bohannon, who moved over the off-guard spot. Just sort of fitting, I think, that he has that bank shot game winner, then Patrick McCaffrey's SWAT to really seal the deal. But a win against a prime ACC team, a team that has won a national title in the last 5 years, I think that's going to be a very, very big deal going forward. And it shows, Dave, the team can handle a first punch and they can overcome that early adversity.
That's well stated in the previous segment. Jeff Horner, former Hawkeye great and now coach in college basketball at D2 at Truman State, said the same thing you said about football. He said how close this team is. Contributors all
Yeah.
over the place, David, and guys getting minutes. Great stuff from you as always. We'll both take a breath and do it all again next week, my friend.
Hey, sounds good, Dave.
You're very welcome. Thank you, David. For David Eickholt, HawkeyeInsider.com's very own, I'm Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Again, as always, tune in next week. Got great shows lined up for you again. Hawkeyes going to the Big Ten championship game. So for James Vandenberg, Jeff Horner, David Eickholt, Craig and Stacy Schroeder, and you, the viewers, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. That's all from me. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned in to the rolling credits here at the end of the program to give our advertisers and sponsors the credit and attention they so richly deserve. Without them, we don't have a program. And again, for the aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you.